What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Little Nightmares 3 yet again. Now, a few days ago, I made a video talking about will we get a Little Nightmares 3. I'm kind of known for doing that, making a video way too early after the current game comes out, talking about the next one, okay? But it's been a few more days now. That video's done rather well, and I definitely thank anybody who has watched it. I want to talk about the third game. This will be spoilers. Because I want to talk about where the heck in the timeline of Little Nightmares this third game is going to take place, and we'll talk about that in terms of spoilers. So I'll do the promotion part, and then we'll get into the spoilers. If you guys do like this stuff, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you guys have the bell icon turned on so you know when all these videos go up. If you guys want to join our Discord server, talk about the game even more, link for that is in the description below. One final thing, too, is I do want to have another video, probably the last Little Nightmares video for quite a while, talking about DLC. If the game will get DLC, and I'll do that in a few days, so make sure you guys are looking out for that, okay? So this gets into the spoilers. Don't watch this. This is where you should step away if you have not beaten Little Nightmares 2, okay? 3, 2, 1. Little Nightmares 2 is before Little Nightmares, okay? Now, they do the classic trope, which, funny enough, my friend and I, we both played the game, we both beat the game, and we were thinking, how many games have done this before? How many things in general have done this before, where the second game is actually a prequel to the first game? And we looked at movies first. There's actually not a lot of movies, very few movies, I thought it would actually be more, have done this. But games, it's actually a well-known, kind of like a common thing. You know, every one of every, so many games. No, they honestly do this, okay? A lot of games, actually, some of the sequels end up leading in. They're considered a sequel going into it, but they become a prequel to the base game. So obviously, that comes from Six getting her rain jacket, her raincoat, right? And then also the game ending from her coming out of the TV, and there's a poster, I believe. There's something that the camera very briefly looks at. I mean, it doesn't even look at it, honestly, kind of like tilts it. And it's the Maw, which is obviously the location of the first game. So, some people said this. Now, I didn't see this. I watched the ending multiple times, or the secret ending, I should say. I didn't hear her stomach grumble, like in terms of being hungry, but some people say that was in it. So maybe my ears are pretty bad, okay? I'm probably going to need something done to them over the next 10, 20, 30 years, but they are kind of bad, but I personally didn't hear it. You guys will have to let me know if you guys heard it in the comments. So that's pretty much the ending, is we get confirmation that after, she left, our main character of Little Nightmares 2, kind of for dead, and he obviously became, I believe it was the Thin Man is what they technically call him. After he becomes that, Six goes on and experiences the first game. Now, so that leads to the question, right? Does Little Nightmare, well, I guess you could say, like, does Little Nightmares 3, can that be a prequel to this? Can that be a sequel? Like, how does that exactly go? So you do go through quite a few things in the first Little Nightmares, which kind of ends, right, with Six gaining even more abilities to kind of be this almost supernatural creature, right? Kind of like one of the most powerful things on the planet at the time. But we still don't have the greatest sense, I would say personally, maybe that's just because I haven't looked up enough about this game, we still don't have the greatest sense of exactly what's going on. Like, how did we get to the point in humanity that we're at at the time, in the first Little Nightmares, but now you really look at it and say, okay, how did we even get to the point of this game? In the the very first section with the hunter, and then obviously we go into the school and all that stuff. How did we get there? So, does the third game take place after 1, or does it take place before 2? Now, none of that really makes sense personally, but a thing to note as well, right, is there is, besides the style of the game, besides, like, what you're doing, there is one thing that ties the first game to the second game, and it's Six. She's the main character in the first game, and then in this game, she's kind of your ally. You're watching out for her. You save her multiple times against against literally yourself. You save her, which you probably shouldn't have done, right? But she is, I would say, a main character of this game as well. And so she is kind of the binding glue between, and not the Gorilla Glue, the Gorilla Glue girl either. She's the binding glue between the first game and the second game. So I would imagine the third game would also be her as well. Now, again, there's a couple ways you can go into it. In this game, Little Nightmares 2, you find her captured by the hunter, and that's the first time you see her, but clearly she was doing something before to get to that point, right? She has an origin story just like anybody else have an origin story. So you could do even more and do a prequel. You could do a sequel to 1, which would be 3, in her doing more. I mean, she leaves the main area of Little Nightmares and she just goes off, right? But she has all of these newfound powers, so like you could do more with it. And again, I mean, there are themes, there are ideas, including like even the television, let's say, of Little Nightmares 2 that aren't fully explored. Like we kind of get what happens with the television, and kind of like rots these people's minds, or rots like it actually kind of like decays their bodies. You know, it obviously connects to, and you have obviously what happens with Mono and all that stuff. So you have all that, but there is still, I would say, a lot of unanswered questions. I would say, in my personal opinion, a prequel would be equally as fine and equally as, I would say, necessary as a sequel. Now, what is interesting, again, is we'll talk about in the next video, is DLC. So the first game did have DLC. What would you do for DLC in this game? Again, you could do a sequel stuff. You could maybe have us play as the Thin Man. You could do a prequel to this game. I mean, there's actually quite a bit. If you wanted to tell like a standalone hour story or whatever, there's actually quite a bit you could do. So we'll have to see if that happens, what that eventually becomes. I think we'll talk about the possibilities there in the next video. I think it makes sense to do a natural sequel, like literally keep going forward. So like Little Nightmares 2 is before it, but then Little Nightmares 3 is after the first game. I feel like that makes the most sense, although technically what would actually make the most sense is to keep going backwards. So like 1 was the furthest forward, 2 was the prequel, and then 1 is the prequel to like all of it, right? But again, I think the glue that binds it all is 6. So we'll have to see, you know, do you want to use her as her newfound powers? Does maybe she figure out a lot of the stuff that's going on, you know, or what? Or again, maybe you start off this post-apocalyptic, whatever kind of world this even is, do you start it off as 6, and then you get captured by the hunter, and then there becomes the second game, right? So you do have options there. Again, I honestly wouldn't mind either of them. I did want to make this video just as kind of a question to you guys. So let me know. Let me know in the comments below. What would you prefer? Do you think they should go forward and tell the story of, you know, after? Maybe they should do a spin-off entirely. I guess doesn't necessarily need to. I just kind of think, besides, again, the kind of world that we're in, the one character has been in 2 different games. So that's kind of the glue in all of these games. So let me know where you think the next game, Little Nightmares 3, should be placed chronologically in this universe in the comments. As always, make sure you guys are subscribed. Make sure you guys have the bell icon turned on. Again, if you guys want to join our Discord server, the link for it is in the description below. I'd love to have you guys over there. Thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I hope to see you all on the next video.